How's it going there, everybody? Happy December 22nd to all you guys. As you can see, the setup here is a little bit different than in the past. I'm doing a bit of traveling for the holidays, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop doing these videos. So, welcome. And in this one, we're going to discuss a few new Q posts, actually show you the list of all the resigning CEOs out there. And we have another politician with a boot on. We'll talk about Donald Trump and his tax bill and that new executive order. If you haven't seen that, it's a huge one. So I'm excited to show that to any of you guys who haven't seen it yet. We'll talk about Jeff Sessions and his Uranium 1 probe that's now being reactivated in a way, and actually how he's declared the Bundy trial a mistrial. We'll talk about Julian Assange tweeting a reference to Seth Rich, and then discuss some Pedogate news, a couple pieces of news dropping today about the FBI. The FBI actually foiled a terror plot today, just in San Francisco, and there was a weird occurrence that happened at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport that actually had to be evacuated. And then we'll talk about a article that came out discussing how life itself, extraterrestrial life, not of this Earth, is actually common throughout the whole universe, which is pretty freaking logical, if you ask me. I don't know why this isn't common knowledge quite yet. So that's what we're going to discuss today. And then I want to make an announcement on January 27th. I will be doing my next webinar. It's going to be on the Secret Space Program called the Disclosing the Secret Space Program webinar. I'm going to go ahead and post a link down below to it, and you can go check out the website for it. This is what it looks like. So on January 27th, I'll be doing a very long webinar on the Secret Space Program, which is crucial because, of course, we have all these UFO disclosures and so-called black money disclosures coming out by way of the mainstream media. But, of course, it's very sanitized disclosure. What they're not telling us is much more telling than what they are telling us. So I'm going to go over a ton of information in this webinar. And for all of you that's waiting for my interview with William Tompkins, we'll be premiering it on that webinar series as well. So check the description below this video after it's posted and processed, and you'll be able to go check it out. But now let's go into the Q posts, and I'm going to do this a little different than in the past. I'm not going to read every single Q post because, as you can see here, they post like 10 to 15 a day, and it takes me way too long to go read every single one. So what I'm going to start doing is posting the very latest board on 8chan where you can find these posts below every video. So there's new boards that are made basically every single day to keep up with the new Q drops. So I'll post, like I said, the most current one that I can find below each video. And this one here I'll post below this video, and we'll just run through them really quick. Looks like these are Q posts with that new trip code, the one with the big UW in it. Test. There's a bunch of tests done to make sure that Q could post in 8chan because, of course, there's been all kinds of suppression regarding these Q posts, from bots to DDoS attacks to all kinds of different things going on. But test. Fully operational, resolved. Looks like all the tests were successful. And then there was a lot of questions in the rest of these. Some inferences about North Korea, who controls North Korea, some more posts about North Korea, and some inferences as to how did they get their nuclear and their missile technology so fast. Right here, why is EM provided big, WW, I believe that means worldwide. EM is Elon Musk, so why has Elon Musk provided huge subsidies? And right here, clown contribution in exchange for access code. So clown, being clowns in America, CIA, is the CIA contributing to Elon Musk for offering the CIA proxy of North Korea their missile and technology and whatnot. And then, why is that relevant? Well, it's all relevant. Let's see. Here's a good one. So somebody had posted a list. Here's the list I want to show you of all the CEOs in America that have resigned over the past 2.5 months. I didn't realize this list was so big. And of course, a huge piece of news is that we have Eric Schmidt stepping down as the executive chairman of Google. It's called Alphabet, their parent company, but Google now. So Eric Schmidt resigned. That's huge. He was like this with the Clintons in the cabal and the deep state. So, and then looking into all the other CEOs that have resigned over the past 2.5 months, there's a lot. Hewlett-Packard CEO. We've got telecom CEOs. We've got, looks like banking, public schools, AT&T CEO, ESPN president. Lots and lots of people. So, not a coincidence, guys. Not a coincidence. Let's go back to the Q post here. And he's saying, do you believe in coincidences? Keep that list updated. The flood is unstoppable. Some more stuff regarding North Korea and Iran. Let's see. We are moving fast, he says. This was just yesterday. Remember, not all within the CIA, Department of Justice, and FBI are bad apples. That's absolutely the case. Got to have faith in humans, guys. The majority of people in the three-letter agencies are good people. They're just good people in very bad circumstances, very bad environments. So we've got to help them out, right? Help them out by figuring out the breadcrumbs and spreading the knowledge, increasing the consciousness of people so they can get it. Let's see. Trust Ray, it says. Somebody right here so an anonymous poster was reposting a tweet from Thomas Paine. He heads the truepundit.com. I'll show you one of their articles in a minute here. And he's saying, if you are FBI and don't know who you can trust, contact True Pundit. So Thomas Paine was saying, hey, contact True Pundit if you're in the FBI and you want to anonymously get some info out there. Q was responding to that, and he said, trust Ray, which makes sense. Trust the new FBI director, Christopher Wray, who was put in. And, you know, it's not a guessing game as to why he's in there. There's reasons behind all these things. This one hits the feels. This one hits you right in the feels. So an anon on 4chan says, been sober for 100 days, planning to end that, finally going to kill myself. Fuck all this, been here since the start too. Definitely not a happy post. I hope that guy is okay. But Q then responds to him and says, Patriot, your country needs you. You are not alone. God is love. That's a big statement. I'm not going to go off on a tangent on that, but that says a lot of things right there. Says a lot about Q, what Q is and isn't, and how they're helping us. But anyway, 2018 will be glorious, and I absolutely believe that. So I hope that anon poster's all right. And then we have a last post down here. The last post Q posted on the 22nd. Today, actually. Wow. Anyway, Yellow Brick Road. FBI speech history. This is actually referencing the Christopher Wray speech. I don't know if he did it today or yesterday, but he mentioned the Yellow Brick Road in that speech. And again, more corroborating of the breadcrumbs and corroboration that Q and everything Q's been posting on 4chan and 8chan is very much associated with a behind-the-scenes alliance trying to take down the cabal. So there you go. Those Q posts that I want to show you today. And where is it? There's one in here that I wanted to show you. Was it of yesterday? But anyway, we've got a new boot. So this is a boot from, the name's not coming to me right now. If anybody knows who's wearing this boot now. But anyway, I'm waiting for a comment. Come on, someone tell me. I don't have the name here. Anyway, this woman is associated, I do know, Jackie Spear. There we go. Jackie Spear is associated with Awan. I believe she's the one that actually got Imran Awan his top secret clearance, right? So there's this is even showing corroboration between these boots and these boots being legit and how they're probably cutting deals behind the scenes. People wearing the boots are having trackers, right? Where probably have ankle monitors on. And looks like her boot is on the left. Remember McCain? He couldn't even decide which boot he wanted his on. Looks like hers is on the left. And I wouldn't doubt if we're going to have more boots around. We talked about Eric Schmidt stepping down. This is the list of the CEOs I wanted to show you guys. Here's that True Pundit article. It's just discussing the Donald Trump tax plan that he signed. Now, I don't know too much about this tax plan, but all that I've seen from it that doesn't look like corporate deep state propaganda is that it's a very good thing. All I've seen is that corporate tax rates are dropping. But me, I'm kind of an eternal optimist where I'm like, well, the Federal Reserve is bullshit and the IRS is bullshit and taxes are bullshit anyway, right? Where's our $21 trillion that just the Pentagon has swiped, let alone all the other dollars that have been stolen from the American public? But anyway, regardless, this looks like a good thing. So there's that. Now let's talk about this executive order. So here on the whitehouse.gov yesterday, we had an executive order blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. Read this. It's huge. Now, what this executive order is referring to is a list of people. Here's the list of people from the treasury.gov website that it's specifically referring to with this executive order. It's got a bunch of names on here, not names that we wanted, like Podesta, Clinton, Obama, and all them. But here's the thing, and people on 8chan are already digging into this. A lot of these names that are mentioned in this executive order have direct ties with the cabal that we so desperately want to see taken out. So I believe one of the names in here, I think it was this guy, Karamova. He has ties to the Clinton Foundation, And not only that, but in this executive order, you have to read it because it says the person's listed in the annex to this order, like I mentioned, but also here, any foreign person determined by the Secretary of the Treasury in consultation with the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, right? So it's basically saying anybody. This executive order is against anybody discussing or involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. So I think this is the unplugging of the drain, if you understand what I mean. And it's involving these people directly on this list. But again, who are these people involved in? And that opens up all kinds of drains from being opened, if you know what I mean. Anyway, we'll move on to the rest of the articles. I want to show you guys Hillary in the crosshairs as Department of Justice prosecutors begin asking FBI agents about Uranium One. So everybody's a lot of people were worried about Jeff Sessions. What is he even doing? He's doing his job. He's in there for very specific reasons. And now it looks like since things like the tax bill and a lot of other things are being taken care of, now Sessions is being activated to do what he's in there to specifically do, right? Again, 4D, 5D chess. Got to be patient. There is so much going on behind the scenes that we can barely even grasp. We're getting breadcrumbs of it on 8chan and trying to piece together whatever we see in the media, but we don't even know most of the stuff going on or their plans, so you just have to be patient. But now it looks like Sessions is doing what he's supposed to do. He's reinvestigating Uranium One, again, direct ties to the Clintons, Podestas, and all that jazz. Not only that, but AG Sessions orders examination of Bundy case after mistrial over prosecution bungling. So Sessions is starting to activate, and he's getting his people activated. Not only that, but we have the House Oversight Committee, a Republican member in the House Oversight Committee, saying that he and other top lawmakers will investigate the Obama administration's efforts to derail the Drug Enforcement Administration campaign targeting the Iran-backed terror group Hezbollah. Lawmakers investigating Obama. They're investigating Hillary, right? I think we're going to get a very nice Christmas and a wonderful 2018, right? So we got those things going on. We have an ex-FBI assistant director who's literally saying that patriots within the FBI will soon step forward and expose the cabal. He said this on Fox Business News. And this word right here, the word cabal, is getting thrown around everywhere, even in the mainstream. Fox News has been saying that word multiple times over the past few days. So these things are seeding out into the consciousness. I believe the first one I've ever heard use that word cabal was David Wilcock, and that was, within the last, I think a couple of years ago, he started using it, and now everybody's using it, so that's a good thing. But discussing this article a little further, James Kallstrom was that former FBI assistant director, and he literally said on Fox Business News, and Zero Hedge reports on it right here. Zero Hedge actually used the word breadcrumb. Interesting. But Kallstrom says, I think there's a lot of patriots that have had it up to here with what's going on, and they're going to step forward and tell people what the shenanigans have been. Amazing. And not only will that happen within the FBI, but I do believe it'll happen within the CIA even. Of course, the CIA is heavily infiltrated, but have faith. There's good people in there. There's good clowns that want to take down the bad clowns, And same thing within the DOJ, same thing within every agency. It's been stifled from the top. The top players stifle everything, keep everything compartmentalized, confused, and do their illegal activities to prevent the prosecutions from happening. But the top is being cut. The top is being cut off, so all the people underneath are being allowed to do their jobs, and they want to do their jobs. So this is great news that more patriots will come forward. And we even have an ex-FBI assistant director saying that. So hey, he's a patriot coming forward himself. We each got our jobs to do. People got to bring the information forward. People got to deduce the information on 8chan. And then people like me just try to share it to as many people as possible. So we all got our duties to do. Let's see. Speaking of the FBI, this is that terror attack that I mentioned earlier. FBI, man planned Christmas terror attack for San Francisco's Pier 39. Somebody said the CIA is down to clown. Let's see. They've been clowning since they were the OSS in Nazi Germany, right? Let's see. But anyway, in San Francisco, officials have stopped a man who reportedly stated that Christmas was a perfect day for a terror attack in San Francisco, and he did not need an escape plan because he was ready to die. So like I said, the FBI is getting freed up to do their jobs, right? So now they're actually foiling terror attacks instead of being the ones responsible for pushing the patsies to go do it, right? And in this case, we have the patsy here basically saying Christmas was the best day for a terror attack and he was going to kill himself. So first thing that pops into my head, I'm like, MK Ultra? What kind of black program was he associated with to basically fracture him, control his mind, and get him to do that? First thing that pops into my head. His name was Everett Aaron Jameson. So, I don't know who he is or what affiliations he has, but he said that he was inspired by the New York terror attack and the shooting in San Bernardino, a couple other false flags. The documents also say Jameson was posting and liking pro-ISIS and pro-terrorism content on Facebook. So there you go. That kind of makes me believe that he was associated with groups, mercenaries, military-industrial complex factions that were trying to push him to do this. Next, we're going to discuss that smoke in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport that caused it, Dallas Love Field Airport, that caused it to be evacuated today. 1111, make a wish right there. But anyway, so we had, remember the Atlanta airport debacle a few days ago, but now we have stuff going on in the city of Dallas. And this is an odd area because remember, the Atlanta airport's on the 33rd parallel too, right? That was one of the dots that made me speculate that that was going to be a false flag. Dallas is on the 33rd parallel too. Odd. Dallas is also the area of course, the Bush family. That's their main stronghold, is that area. There's a lot of deep state money around there, let me tell you. So, of course, the AC unit is what they're saying that smoked and just made people evacuate. Could have been an honest malfunction. Could have been some honest smoke going on. But then again, what actually are coincidences these days? So with Atlanta, stuff going on there, what if stuff was going on in Dallas too? What if there was an extraction or a false flag thwarting or some person trying to take off and that having to be prevented here, right? Possibilities. You got to think. You got to like layer your thinking, quantum your thinking when you're deducing all this stuff. You're like, okay, what are the possibilities? What are the plausibilities? What's not possible? So it's difficult when analyzing all this stuff. You have to keep your mind open, right? But not so open that your brains fall out. Dude, those demon alien troll people are hitting it rough. So distracting. Anyway, let's get on into the last few articles. The Disobedient Media here, great news website. You know, I've just become familiar with them, but I've featured them a couple times on this because I like what they're talking about. Did the Bushes try to hide their connections to the second mile? And the second mile is the, let's see here. It was the nonprofit that Jerry Sandusky used allegedly to pick his victims out in his child sex abuse ring. And George W. Bush nationally recognized the second mile as a philanthropic point of light, right? So there are direct connections right there to the whole Bush family and their connections to a organization being used for child sex trafficking. Great, right? Not only that, but of course there's the Franklin cover-up they were involved in. There's, gosh, man, the Bush family, one of the worst. And their history, I mean, the Bush family history goes all the way back to the Nazis in World War II. Prescott Bush, Granddaddy Bush, was, that's George W. Bush's grandfather, I believe. He was the ones who helped fund the frickin' Nazis, right? Then the Bush family comes over here, and a lot of people like them somehow. I don't know. Speaking of sex abuse, just literally Googling sex abuse will bring up all kinds of stuff. USA Gymnastics paying one of their people to keep some sex abuse quiet. We have, remember, the, what's-his-face, the recent, was he a bishop in the Catholic Church who died, who was a massive sex abuser. We have, there's another person who was outed in Hollywood as being a child sex abuser as well, another producer. Names are not coming to me today. But, you know, the storm, Pedogate, continuing to roll. Let's see here. Last couple things before I get too distracted by the comments. Julian Assange tweeting out a video that calls Seth Rich the WikiLeaks source. So he actually posted, looks like this video right here by Jimmy Dore that referenced Seth Rich being the WikiLeaks source. Julian Assange retweets it, calls it brilliant. And if you also remember, the Donald Trump Jr. messages between WikiLeaks and himself that aired a week or two ago actually contained a URL, a website in it, that if people were to go to click on it, it was going to bring up, I wish I had it with me. But anyway, it looks like WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, is trying to continue subtly, very subtly get out this information on Seth Rich. Not only that, but Donald Trump Jr. was doing the same thing. Looked like with Julian Assange, just trying to, under the radar, very subtly get out the fact that, yes, it was Seth Rich that gave WikiLeaks the DNC emails, and it's a massive cover-up within the FBI, by way of the Clinton Foundation, all the others, right, to bury that. Speaking of Podestas, right, I just want to throw something in. Remember this girl? You know, I was in an airport yesterday, and Madeleine McCann, there was literally still a picture up with her face on it. And it said, if you have any information about Madeleine McCann, call this number. And I'm like, yeah, I just want to call that number and be like, have you investigated John Podesta, Tony Podesta, about that lately? You know? But just wanted to throw that up there. And then last couple things. Homicide investigators take lead in Barry and Honey Sherman case. So if you haven't heard of this, Barry Sherman was basically the richest dude in Canada. He was a pharmaceutical billionaire, and both him and his wife were found murdered, and they're officially putting the homicide detectives on it because they were both found hung, I believe. They had complete, it says, ligature neck compression. Basically, death from strangulation. And, him being a billionaire, you have to think there's direct ties to the Clinton Foundation and to being in Canada, the Trudeau Foundation too. So wonder if that's associated with the storm or sweep or, all these CEOs are resigning. You can only imagine how many people are going to start getting killed off so they don't talk, but also killing themselves. I also heard a story recently about a police officer who was being investigated for child sex abuse or child pornography, and he hung himself, he killed himself. So that's awful, terrible. But of course, with so many people involved in such dark shit and their conscience making them feel terrible about it, once they actually get past their programming of thinking it's good stuff and it's fun, and they start feeling like shit and wanting to kill themselves. But hey, man, you don't like to see it go down that road, but most of them are either facing life in prison or the death penalty anyway. It would just be nice if many of these people could come forward and spill the beans before they did that. But anyway, last two things. This one's just great. Facebook ditches fake news flag after admitting it was making the problem worse. So people were actually getting these warnings saying that the article they were going to click on is about to be fake news. And it was actually making these media reports more believable to the users, right? And it seems to be the case these days. People hear fake news. They're like, oh, if Facebook or Google or CNN is calling something fake news, I should probably read it. Backwards World 101, Bizarro World, as I've heard some people call that lately. It's exactly what it is. If it's called fake news, you should probably read it. If it's called fake news by a governmental official source, I should say, then you should probably read it. I myself would call most of the news on television fake news. Many others would also agree with me. And then last thing here, great little article. Ancient fossil microorganisms indicate that life in the universe is common. Study coming out by way of UCLA and the University of Wisconsin reported in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences were they were finding microorganisms on fossils that were billions and billions of years old. And apparently that led them to believe that these ancient fossil microorganisms let us know that life is everywhere. That's a big thing, right? You can't be so ignorant as to think that we're the only life on this one planet in the cosmos. Then you get to thinking like, wow, there's much more evolved life everywhere. And then, wow, aliens aren't demons. There's actually, well, yes, negatively oriented extraterrestrials that are, on different planes, different dimensions than we are. So yes, there's demonic-looking, parasitical, archonic entities that are extraterrestrials and reptilians and greys and other negative species. But wow, there's good ones too. There's Pleiadians and Arcturians and, bird species, feline species, all kinds of positive ones here assisting us. And both nefarious and benevolent extraterrestrial races have been here for eons and eons, meddling in matters here, right? And right now, for the past few thousand years, you've had, of course, the negatively oriented ones having their way of things. But the benevolent ones have been here just trying to assist us as much as they can without breaking the prime directive, without openly showing themselves to us and breaking the laws of free will, right? They can't, both sides, negative and benevolent ones, they can't just show themselves to us because they're breaking that prime directive law. So they have to do what they can. They do what they can through remote influencing. Of course, those archonic entities, they always attach to us on those astral levels. But the benevolent ones, they're trying to assist us as much as they can through use of also remote influencing, but even symbols, crop circles, right? Thousands of years ago, they had much more open contact, but not as much now. But they're trying to use symbols as much as they can, through crop circles, through, even showing themselves to people who are spiritually advanced enough to warrant the contact, right? They won't just show themselves to everybody. You have to invite it to occur and be of a enlightened level enough to where they can actually contact and communicate with you and want to. So it's a very deep long topic. That's why I'll be doing these webinars coming up, this Circuit Space Program webinar. Again, plug here, go check that out. And I'll be doing more videos, more information, more webinars discussing that ETSSP issue, because it looks like there's massive psyops out there to try to mess with people's brains, and it's getting a lot of well-meaning people very confused about things like, oh, UFOs. Yes, they're real. Our own government has downed many and reverse engineered them, and it's a mess out there. So anyway, we got to try to share as much information as we can to raise consciousness, to get people getting it. I'm just very familiar with this topic, so those are a lot of the data that I'm going to share. I'm not saying it's 100% I'm the only one you should listen to, but it's what I'm familiar with. A lot of other people out there familiar with other topics, great. But anyway, that's what I have for this one, guys. A good half hour. So have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend, wonderful Christmas. I'll be doing more whiteboard videos, actually. I got a pretty neato whiteboard where I'm at here, so I'll be able to do some more of those videos. So don't worry, those whiteboard videos aren't going away. And then I'll be uploading some other interview I did with James Gilliland the other day. I'll be uploading here tonight, and then looking at getting some other interviews on this channel as well. So have a great one, guys. I will be back. God is love.